Now, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the week of December 19th, 2017. I am Andy McCabe. I am your Restoration Rebel leader. I am going to start like we start every meeting. We read the 4 agreements as I've come up with them, and no one has come up with an argument why I shouldn't read them. So I'm going to continue to read them until someone tells me otherwise. The Restoration Rebels push the agenda of the Restoration 2.0 movement. Our purpose is to empower and educate the insurance consumer in order to create a more fair claims process. Rebel rule number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Could everyone mute their microphones for me? Rebel rule number 1, I will protect the value of my services. I will never provide free services, as these only serve to erode the value of contractor services industry-wide. Rebel rule number 2, I will practice incredible transparency in my communications. I will explain our processes in detail to my client. I will never hide details or manipulate reports. I will never communicate with a third party without also communicating with my client. This rule is going to come into our conversation a little bit later when we talk about Amazon. Rebel rule number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I will be an active member of the restoration community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. Rebel rule number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth taking part in if it requires losing money, sleep, or my humanity. All right, I'm gonna get on a little soapbox before we really get started here. I read an article about Amazon getting into the claims business, the insurance business. And there's a quote that I pulled off, and I'm going to read it right here. Right here. This comes right out of the article. It says, it seems that the day has come for insurers to radically transform their business into a full-on customer-centric, data-driven tech company. Top-heavy, outdated and costly systems need to be put to the curb. This is a hypothetical question. What is Amazon's biggest benefit? Why do people keep going to Amazon? Is it because they get their stuff in 2 days? Is it because everything in the world can be found there? Maybe. I think Amazon's biggest strength is the 5-star review. Anyone can go to Amazon and look for anything. And you know what I do? Every time I look for something, I buy 4 or 5 things a week. Amazon Prime, best thing in the world. The first filter I hit, after I hit Amazon Prime, I hit 4 stars or more. So the customer feedback, the verifiable reality of the data that they have is their biggest strength. Going to Amazon, you can find something that 100 other people have actively reviewed. What happens when 150,000 people review their insurance product and it's good and it's 5 stars, right? That is going to fundamentally change how people buy insurance. Because if I can go and see somebody's review from New York and somebody's review from California and somebody's review from Florida that they had Amazon insurance and they had a claim and it was the most wonderful experience they ever had, that is going to destroy the standard insurance model. So who else besides Amazon, who else is in the best position to supply that customer feedback? Who else is in the best position to supply customer service and client retention to insureds? It's us. The only thing we're missing is a way to quantify and store and collect the feedback. Who's not muted? Someone's not muted. I'm getting master feedback here. We need to start collecting customer feedback. We need to start soliciting reviews and collecting them and collecting customer data, because there will come a day when Amazon or somebody likes them, or Amazon or Apple or Google, Google's playing in the insurance space too. They're going to be looking for service providers. The service providers they're looking for are going to need verifiable customer reviews and feedback. They're not going to take our word for it that we're their bee's knees. They're not going to take anyone else's word for it except for the market, because the market doesn't lie. That is why we need to become marketing companies first, customer-centric first. We're already doing that, right? We're already customer-centric. We're at our hearts, every single one of the people in this room, we are service providers. We are service-oriented. It's part of our DNA. We just have to do a better job of documenting that and really putting the customer first in every single thing we do. That will inform our processes going forward. There's a reason that I have the 4 agreements. It's not just for fun. It's not for feeling good. It's because that is what's going to be required. That's going to be table stakes for anyone that wants to do insurance repairs into the future. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Clark, do you have anything to add to that?
I was just going to add to that. If you think that they're going to get into the insurance, think that Google's already started Google services.
Yes.
They're going to start having providers. Amazon will supply the providers as well, based off the same thing you're talking about.
And here's the thing. There's a reason that the insurance companies that have tried this, and I believe me, I get this 5 times a day on LinkedIn from some adjuster or some claims manager somewhere that says, well, they've done it before. Everyone, they've had, they've brought the construction in-house before and it just hasn't worked. Well, the reason it hasn't worked, and the reason that Home Depot, they have their red team, right? You can go to Home Depot and buy wood, right? Or you can buy flooring and have their person, right? Their subcontractor install it. Who is better positioned to perform the services that we already perform? Who's better positioned than Home Depot and their sub base? No one. But why haven't they succeeded? They haven't succeeded because their why wasn't there, right? And Simon Sinek is one of my favorite people in the entire world. You always start with why. If you don't start with why you do what you do, people want to buy from people who believe what they believe. We want to sell to people who believe what we believe. But if you're just in it for the money, it will show in your process. It will show in your heart. Your heart's going to come through. And if you don't have your heart in it, you're not going to be able to sell it. We are in a service and heart business. We are a service and heart industry. And if we keep that top of mind and we keep our customer focus and we are completely transparent, we build that trust. The hardest thing to gain, the easiest thing to lose is trust. But if we gain that trust, we gain that credibility as an industry, as a mass, this brand right here or this brand right here will become the #1 choice of everyone looking for service providers, whether that's an insured or Amazon or Google or whatever else. That is my end game. My end game is, yes, we need to make more money now. We need to change our processes now to survive the interim space between reality now, this shakeup that's going to happen, and the future, which we have no idea what it's going to look like, but we're pretty sure it's going to be very customer-centric. All right, let's go to, man, look at all the people in the room. What's up? All right, we got several people here. Who is here for the first time?
This is my first time for this meeting.
Yes, it is. We did talk for 2 hours last night, but not everyone else got the benefit. Ben Justison, the king of pricing feedback. Go ahead and introduce yourself. What are you doing? Where are you at? What are you doing?
In Moses Lake, Washington. I have a restoration company up here in Moses Lake, Wenatchee, and Ellensburg. And right now I was actually going over one of my price lists. Nice.
I actually revised a price list for another restoration rebel today out of Idaho Falls, I believe. So we are this close to having Ben Justison come to the Restoration 2.0 Summit on May 4th and 5th in Nashville, Tennessee. Speaking of tactical things we can do today to provide a better future for our industry, pricing feedback. And Ben is on the forefront of pushing pricing feedback. And if you don't know what that is, look up Ben, talk to me. This is how we're going to survive in the interim. This is how Ben has in Moses Lake, Washington, his price list for labor is $20 an hour on average. I'm not exactly, $20 an hour higher than Yakima, right? For drywall, let's say drywall and paint, $20 an hour for labor. Hourly labor is $20 higher from Xactimate. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're at, well, not trying to say what pricing is, but yes.
Yes. You are yes, $20 on average, $20 for labor hourly, because you started doing pricing feedback actively telling Xactimate, no, these are my costs. These are my labor costs. These are my burden in October last year.
Yes.
And it didn't even take 12 months to get that. Imagine if we got together as a group and we started doing our own pricing feedback in our own markets and telling Xactimate, no, this is what we need. This is the real price. Because guess what? The feedback mechanism is there, and it's always been there. And I hear all the time, well, Xactimate doesn't have enough money. There's not enough money. I lose money on Xactimate. Well, whose fault is that? It's ours. We have a tool. We need to use it. Ben, hopefully, will get there in Nashville and teach us all how to use it a whole lot better. Thanks, Ben. Thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, we don't have to wait until Nashville. In fact, I'd love to see
Amen.
the progress that people have made. Oops, sorry.
No, I said amen. No, I know. You're
okay.
Good.
So one thing that just came out today, pretty excited that it finally came out, the CNR magazine just published my article regarding pricing feedback. Totally on me now. I was getting after Andy for not getting with me to do this video thing for like a webinar, and then I got really busy. So really soon we need to do something like that, record it, and then let everybody else see what that looks like.
I'm open tomorrow afternoon.
I might be in Seattle, actually. I'm trying to get dual citizenship.
Nice. All right. Well, hey, I'll hold you to it. I'll keep bugging you. I'll call you every day this week.
Sounds good.
We'll make it happen. Massive action. Massive action today is what is going to change your business and what is going to change this industry. All right. Who else is here for the first time? Lindsay Malam. So Lindsay, you had me on the phone earlier today. You're looking for an opportunity maybe to go help people with project management and fire cleanup in California. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Heavy experience in fire damage restoration and cleanup. So if y'all are looking for somebody in California that needs a hand, Lindsay is available and ready. So how's that for a pitch? All right. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for being here. You're in Florida, right?
I am. So for that matter, not only California, but anywhere else.
Good for you. Thanks for being here. All right. Who else? Man, we got like 8 pages here. I can only see a handful here. So somebody else raise their hand if you can, if it's the first time here. I'm looking through the list here. Whitney Wiseman. What up, dog?
Hey, those that are only on their phone may actually not be able to raise their hand.
Okay. All right.
So
all right.
if you're on your phone and you're on mute, it's your first time, just you speak up. There's a feature in this that you can raise your hand virtually on the screen, and that's not available if you're not on the video.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, do we have let's just put that topic to bed. Clark, what else do we want to talk about today before we open up?
Well, I want to just reiterate, I know we don't have nearly as many people as we do in the group, and it's been said, and I want to make it a quick thing, but I think it's just important for everybody to talk. We need to talk about the not talking about pricing. There's lots of opinions about, I've got free speech, I can say this. It's not, there's a lot of hyperbole on what line it crosses and which one it doesn't. And I think as a group, we just decided we want to err on the side of caution. There's no gain for anybody putting their price for Moses Lake, Washington up for a guy. I mean, there's no gain. It's not showing off. So we're going to delete it. We're going to get rid of it. It might be legal. None of us here are lawyers. If a lawyer comes in here and brought us case study after case study, I still would probably delete it. It's just, we don't want to lose this group, and it could happen. I mean, listen, I'm part of groups that are into guns, and when Facebook came down hard on gun, they just close overnight. Maybe for groups with 2,000 and 3,000 people, and they're gone.
They're gone.
And how would we reassemble what we're doing? It's not worth it. If you want to do that in another group, go ahead. But some people just want to argue about it, and it's just nothing to argue. It's just we're just, you know what? Listen, do your pricing and reach out to someone like Ben or someone and just work on your pricing separately or something, or hire a remote estimator, but just not in the group, just not openly. Yeah. And I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's perfect. And the thing is, it's just an overabundance of caution, because we are 1,300 people strong now in the group. I know for a fact that several hundred are just there to watch for they're taking notes. And the only reason they're taking notes is because they're scared and they want to find a way to shut this thing down.
It's one thing to be a rebel, and it's one thing to be reckless.
Yes.
No war of rebels was ever won by being stupid.
Join the meeting.
So Kevin Dooley put it really well last night during our admin meeting. He said, price is not the issue. Price is not the issue. We're talking about price. We're talking about the wrong thing. That's it. Price is a symptom. It's not the problem. And what we have right now is a mindset problem. And David Sweet also chimed in about the visualization of a herd of cows going into the choke. We as an industry, we're in this choke right now, and we're trying to find a way out. But what we need to realize is we need to change the entire game. We got to change how the game is played. We got to change the game that we're playing in our heads. And if we're talking about price and tactics only, then we're trying to play within the boundaries of somebody else's game. And I've been saying for 4 or 5 years that we do not want to be Tiny Tim. Please, sir, may I have another, right? The only way to do that is change our mindset and change the game we play. We start playing a different game. We start going after a different client. And that's the other thing I wanted to say, and I'm glad I got myself down that road. The client is the only client. The insured is the only client. There's a lot of people out there that say, oh, we serve 3 masters. I serve the person I work for, and I serve for the insurance company, program or whatever it is, and I have the homeowner. No, the future of Amazon and insurance, the client is the only client. There's only one client. You serve one master, and you do it the best you can from your heart. That's a different game that's being played right now. Right now, we got a lot of people, and believe me, it just destroyed my soul when I was really in the depth of it, trying to serve 3 different masters with 3 very, very, very different interests. You can't do it for long without destroying yourself, or making the subconscious decision that 2 of those masters, I'm just gonna screw them because I can only ever serve one. We're completely transparent in our process. We know the insured is the client, and the client is always the client. And doing the right thing is always the right thing. Yeah, I'm on a roll. I gotta slow my roll. All right, what else do you want to talk about tonight? I want somebody else to come to the microphone and let's solve some problems tonight. What's the number one problem that came up in the group this week that we can address? There's always like 15 seconds. People are like, oh, I don't want to ask the question, but I really do want to ask the question, but I don't want to ask the question.
Hey, Andy.
Go ahead.
Hey, I saw somebody post on the group today about signing on their emails to the insurance adjusters, Restoration Rebel. Would it be all right if on the emails we start just using the insignia, not necessarily?
That
was me.
If you're
Okay.
exactly, if you're in the group, you've been accepted in the group. We haven't kicked you out yet. These belong to you. These don't belong to me. These don't belong to Clark. These are yours. Make it happen.
Yeah, there was some discussion on it, man. I mean, like I feel like some people thought it was, I don't know, like took it the wrong way. Like I was trying to, I don't know, be abrasive to the adjuster and stuff. But it just amps me up, man. I'm just ready to make some noise, and I need to contain myself sometimes. But I didn't think it was unprofessional at all. Just to put it in your signature, you know.
There's a lot of people out there afraid of the rebel. There's a lot of noise. We still have some friction in the admin of we need to move away from this rebel thing and change it to Restoration 2.0 or an alliance. Or guess what? I got to tell you a story. Okay, so I went and saw Jedi this weekend. Freaking awesome.
Yes.
Freaking awesome. I don't know if you could tell by the logos. I'm a little bit of a Star Wars guy, just a tad. So we're sitting in line. It's the first show on Sunday, and I see this big ass. There's two doors that come into the theater with the box office in between, and there's a big line out this door. And I walk in. So me and my family would go in this door. Of course, they're not open yet, so we're waiting. But we're kind of two couples back. We're like, there's two people in. And they're just waiting there. They're saying, oh, well, we can't get in yet. We can't get in yet. And then I'm looking through the glass, and I start seeing people file by. And I'm like, you know what? They're letting people in the other side. I bet that door's unlocked. But no one in this – by that time, there's like 25 people in between these two doors from the outside to the inside to the theater. And I'm like, no one's going to walk through that door? Screw it. So I said, excuse me. You know, I am a giant. I'm 6'7". So I just, excuse me, pardon me, what right? And I opened the door and I looked through, and it was a clear path right to the ticket guy. And I said, all right, family, let's go. And I went in, and the 5 people that I cut in front of were like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Moral of the story. I'm a rebel. I ask forgiveness. I don't ask permission. Do what you got to do. If it's in your heart and it's right, then this probably is right. Just do it. We'll back your play if it is right. So, yes, use it.
Everybody push mute if you're not talking.
I appreciate anybody that works.
Or if you have a dance party going, because there's that.
But my take on it, man, is just like, all right, obviously this isn't really that known yet.
Help her right. Like, she'll have it.
Someday it will be.
I'm going to go ahead and mute.
Yeah.
Jake, you're talking, right? I'm going to mute that, mute that.
Look, you can't play that one song.
I think it's Walter 3. Mute.
All right, myself.
Okay, Jake, go ahead.
My take on it, man, with the whole signature stuff and everything, it's just like in the future when it is a known thing to a lot of adjusters and things like that, where we're trying to take this, it would be nice if you just the first email you ever exchange with an adjuster or something like that, or even if it's on your card or something like that, and they see that, it would be really nice for them to know, like, okay, we kind of know what to expect with this guy. Like, we're not going to be able to jerk him around. Maybe we shouldn't even try. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right now, it's going to be like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, okay, what the hell is that? They probably didn't even look at it. But later on down the road, it would be nice, man, just to be recognized like that.
And that's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, that's where I want to go.
I'm not afraid to say it on a public forum that we know is going to go public. Because guess what? Right now, we're this big. And people are they're just going to ignore us. And if I tell you what's going to happen, if you're $1 trillion company or $1 billion company, if I tell you the future, who am I? You're going to be like, that's just that crazy rebel guy. It's going to happen. And so that's exactly where we're going. This brand is going to be more powerful than any other brand in our space if we stay pure, if we stay in our lanes and stay focused. This is going to be big.
What a subtle but direct way to kind of to see this movement across the United States and Canada, wherever, with that insignia on the emails, on every email.
Yep. And if you want some guidance, this one, it's weird. This one or this one, this is the Rebel logo. All right. This one is that's hard to do. Restoration 2.0. Okay. This is the Restoration Alliance or whatever so if you're afraid of the Rebel, a little too much too much angst here in between my things, use the other one. But yeah, it's ours. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to anybody. I need to copyright it sooner rather than later, I'm sure, because someone's going to copyright it and then try to sue me for using my own stuff. I get it. I'm not there yet. So put it on there. You don't have to name it. Just put it on there. I'm curious to see the reactions you'll get. We're already getting feedback of people saying, arguing with an adjuster about overhead and profit, and the adjuster coming back saying, "What are you, one of these Rebel people?" Hell yes, I am.
Really, that happened?
I am.
Yeah, true story.
I had a guy. So I posted. I don't know if you guys saw it in the group. I just posted something today. This adjuster jumps on and says, "Well, according to your thought process, then is there any place that overhead and profit is not owed?" My reply, nope.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Because it is owed.
Yeah.
What else came up this week?
Here's something about that, and we don't have to get into the topic of, but you know how many people said, "Oh, this Bitcoin, that's not real. These rebels, y'all are just a little thing."
I've tripled my money in the last 8 weeks.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is a bunch of guys on Facebook, by the way, which is the largest social media network. More people are doing business through this than they are through many, many other avenues now. So everyone, Steve Hull said Bitcoin is real. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying that 12, 13, 18 months ago, people were saying, the bubble, it'll never make it to 1,000. Oh, well, it'll never make it to 3. What's it at? 18.5 today. So, I mean, just the rebel thing, if you want to say, remember when we only had these Tuesday meetings and we only had 34 people in the room? Remember when we were talking about that stuff? I really do think that that's going to go somewhere. And I wanted to mention, if anyone noticed on my page, I may have done it on my personal Facebook, not the group, but immediately after the movie, I went Saturday to see Star Wars. And I'm not as big of a geek as Andy, but I'm shorter than Andy.
You are shorter, yes.
I'm shorter by 3 inches or something. There was one line that I thought, here I am quoting Star Wars. I really feel like a nerd. But
no, it was clutch, though. I'm 100% behind it. Go ahead, yes.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Now I'm drawing a blank. Let's not fight the ones we hate. Let's save the ones we love.
Yeah, let's not fight the ones we hate. Let's fight for the ones we love.
And that really is as silly as it sounds. That's what 2.0 is to me. And we said it before.
Yes.
It's not vinegar, it's honey. Let's not fight the insurance, because we're not going to win. We're not going to beat them, but we're going to help the people in the room. I think I posted the other day as the experiment. How much money do you think people have made from putting O&P justifiably on their bills now that weren't doing it early? And what can be done with that profit? What can people reinvest that money in?
That's money straight to the bottom line.
You can invest education, equipment, branding, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just money to go on a cruise with. This is money to reinvest in our companies, which we should have been, and to finance the insurance and not get paid for 60 days.
Yep.
So that's it. I don't know what other topics were.
I'll say this, guys. This is Shane down here in Nashville. So to go back to what you were mentioning about, I don't want to say toning down the language. There's different groups, right? The reality is this group's always going to be a little more hot wings, right, than it's going to be oatmeal, I guess, right? And I think groups all serve their role, right? And you need to go to different areas when you need to talk about certain things, right?
What are you doing?
But more than that, what's going to happen sooner or later is they're going to start seeing the same things pop up on invoices, estimates, arguments, etc., and they may not see the Rebel logo. And so I would submit to you that it would show cross-pollination, and that could even be a sign of it being as powerful or more powerful, right? Because all of a sudden they start to see it spill out of the Rebel movement, right? Like only out of that name. Mm-hmm. And so one group that I'm putting together is going to be really dedicated more towards tech and processes, because my view is you lose way more than what you lose on O&P in having a poorly run company and poorly run processes. And so I'll spend more time focusing on that end of it. Plus, I don't need to talk about everything you talk about. You already got that covered. Mm-hmm. And you've already got 1,500 people that are fired up for it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, you need a McDonald's just like you need a Burger King. And so all that being said, you guys will probably see that I'll start putting a few posts out there just so I don't bombard you guys with technology talk. But I'm telling you, it's going to be the wave of the future, and it's here now. And the people that don't do it are going to get left behind fast.
It's just a point of affirmation for me to, when you follow your gut tells you what's right or wrong. And your mind just makes up the reason why you made the decision in your gut. And so 6 weeks ago, 3 years ago, I wanted to get in Bitcoin. I didn't. But 8 weeks ago, I said, you know what? I've had enough. Bitcoin's sitting at 4K. I'm going to get into Bitcoin. I didn't have a lot of money. I threw $1,000 at it, but I bought some Bitcoin, I bought some Litecoin, I bought some Ethereum. And Ethereum, by the way, side note, I think that's where the money is. Anyway, I've tripled my money in 8 weeks. And it was the right call, because fundamentally I understood the blockchain. I understood what these things represented, and I knew where it can go. There's Bitcoin. I mean, I hate to draw this analogy to Bitcoin. It's tenuous analogy, but hang with me. There's only going to be so much Bitcoin. There's only going to be 20 million Bitcoin ever. What does the supply and demand curve say about that? When you have very limited supply, there's less Bitcoin than there is physical gold in the world. What does that tell you about where Bitcoin's going to go? It's going to go to 1 million. My gut tells me it's going to go to 1 million. So I bought and I'm going to hold. I'm going to wait till it goes to 1 million. Same thing with this group. This group was the right thing to do. This group was the right place to be. These things that we're doing as a group are the right things because they feel good here. They feel right here. So we're going to buy and we're going to hold. I'm going to ride this thing out. And we are going to be the last men and women standing when everything else crumbles down, because everyone else built their stuff on short-term goals, short-term profits, or cutting somebody else's throat so I can make $1 here. The rising tide will float all boats. And if you guys need a speech on competition, I posted something earlier today from Terry shoot, I forget his name, the football player, on competition. And he says everything you need to know about competition. The essential thing about competition is it's not real. It's a concept. It's fake. So, all right, who's up next? What are the problems we're supposed to solve today?
I particularly liked the post you had earlier today about people wanting stuff for free, and that should probably be paid for.
Oh, that was just me being bitter. I could have put my big boy pants on and kept that to myself.
I definitely think there's legs to that, though, because a lot of times it goes back to our customers wanting things for free that should definitely be paid for. So yep. I see how that goes both ways, and I couldn't even imagine how many people hit you up for stuff like that every day, because people hit me up for stuff and I don't even do near the volume and estimating that you do, I'm sure. So
it's quite a bit. And most people, people don't understand. Here's the deal. Everyone is in their own world. Everyone, if you're so busy or you're so under stress, you can only concentrate on this far. Like, okay, this is what I started to mention earlier, and I said I was going to wait. A starving man cannot be taught strategy. A starving man cannot be taught theory, right? because he's starving. A starving man needs food. He needs tactics. He needs to know how to put food on the table today. Once you feed that person or show them how to be fed, then we can teach longer term strategy. Then we can say, okay, here's a philosophy of what we're trying to do. But if you're starving, if you're going to go, if you can't make payroll tomorrow, you're not going to hear what I plan to do in the next 15 years because it doesn't matter. So people get very narrow-minded, they get their blinders on and say, oh man, I have this problem and it's the biggest problem I've ever dealt with. Well, their huge problem is something like this. But you're right. I get 100 of them a day. Like, oh, help me do this. And a lot of it is, hey, well, let's step back from this for a second. What is really happening here? And it's very seldom what they're asking, right? It's usually something else. It's something deeper, and you take a deep breath and you get past it. But then there's the person I posted on is like, well, somebody else gave me the answer. Well, guess what? The answer that you got is going to lose you 75% of the revenue you should have had because you weren't willing to pay for it and you weren't willing to wait for it. Patience, man, patience.
I had someone asked me a question the other day about estimating services. What would you say your average ROI to your end user is on that?
10,000%.
Yeah, I mean,
10,000%.
That has to be crazy.
It's exactly 10,000%.
Wow.
It give or take a percent. Yeah. Over the last 5 years, it's at least 10,000%.
That's crazy.
Because when you, I mean, not to get sidetracked on what I do for a living, what you do, Drew, for a living, but
I don't do it for a living.
Right.
That's what. But yeah.
When you pay, look at what you pay your estimators, right? You give them a car, you give them benefits, you give them an office and a computer, and you pay $2,000 a year for their Xactimate and blah, 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 blah. What's your return on that guy? If he's not doing $1.5 million in revenue for you, your return is piss poor. So what you're doing with Xactimate in the current reality, mind you, because this will change. Someone will come out with a better mousetrap. Xactimate is an endangered species right after Xactimate estimators are. What you're doing with Xactimate is you're buying revenue. Because when was the last time your invoice did not exactly match your Xactimate estimate? Never. So when you pay someone to write Xactimate for you, you're buying revenue. So it's a straight ROI play at that point. And I can safely say every dollar you spend with me, I'm going to give you 10,000% return. Done.
Hey, Andy.
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Andy. I want to bring up a topic, but I want someone else to speak for it. This was I've been looking through.
I will mute my microphone. Yes, I will.
I've been looking through the page for the last few minutes while we were talking about Xactimate because that's what I do. There was a post here, and I want someone that might know some more about it. We went over it pretty quick, and sometimes some topics in text don't do well. Does an adjuster have the right to demand to see receipts for items billed? I know.
I want to hear the answer to that one. Yes.
Depends on how you bill it.
I actually don't believe that you should have to. I think if you want some transparency, that is fine. But in no other industry are you going to be asked to show your receipts for what your price is, right? So if you're going to buy something from the store, did you go to that manufacturer and ask them, well, where did you get your raw materials from? And I want to see that price. Nor do any home builders show their prices for any of their subcontractors or the materials that they get. Now, there are some things that they may say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, you go pick this out yourself and you pay for it yourself, and I'll back that out of what I've got in my estimate. But at no point do they show what their receipts are. So I don't think it should be any differently in this industry. I very much admire Clark and the way their business is structured. they are a service industry, and that's how ours should be as well. They go out, they do the work, and the customer, it's up to them to get paid or reimbursed, I should say. And all the industries that are related to the insurance industry, they have to get reimbursed. And for whatever reason, our industry feels like we have to do it for what the insurance says they're going to pay.
So
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, Ben. Why do we feel the need to subject ourselves to somebody else's opinion of what we should charge? I'm sorry, Clark, I interrupted you.
No, I'm just saying. So, what if you didn't? What if you had a shop full of materials and you have no receipts to show? I mean, I think your price is your price. And the only thing I added in, it's just a different world for T&M. There are things on T&M, and I know some people in here, especially Whitney, working that. There are line items that are not scheduled. If your rate sheet that you publish does not have, I always use flux capacitors, and you have to buy one or rent one, and you don't have a scheduled price, you've got something in your contract that says if any purchased goods are reimbursable, it's going to be cost plus 10 and 10. So I don't think you show your receipts for anything. I think you're asking for trouble when you do that. And I think you're going to, I know that in commercial world, the last 4 years, the new thing is show us your invoices for your temp labor, because you've got a scheduled rate that you're charging temp labor at 48 or 34. There are carriers that say we're going to only pay 10 and 10 on top of what you're paying labor ready or staffing company XYZ. So you're starting a really, really bad precedent when we start showing receipts of costs.
Yes, you are. Lindsay, you got something to add to that?
Yes, I was actually going through that today where we had used Procure, which we charged out at the rates they said to use an Xactimate, which are basically the same as using any other antimicrobial or a fog.
But it's more expensive.
Well, because you're charging by the cubic feet.
Mm.
Okay. And so the guy that we were talking with was like, okay, well, we need some sort of a receipt to show what you actually, you know, what you actually paid for this product. And we said, no, that's not happening.
No, it ain't.
And then he said, okay, well, then we need to know how you applied it. What method did you go about applying it? You know, how long did it take? How many people was it?
Were they
Did that
there?
include or did that not include labor?
Mm.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, and here's my take on it is, what does your contract say? And there's a video I did last summer that said, I got some medicine for you. Guess what? We need to start acting like contractors again. And what does your contract say? Does your contract say I'm going to take my actual costs and mark them up 10 and 10? Well, then that's what you have to do, because that's the contract you made. Or does your contract say, here's our price list. Whatever we do on this price list, we're going to do according to this schedule of fees. It's very different than T&M. It's a version of T&M, but it's not straight T&M. In that scenario, you have no obligation to show what your actual costs incurred are, because it's none of their freaking business.
You just have to be very careful about how you go about putting together your contracts and making sure that what you put together in your contract you're willing to back up. I mean, granted, whatever we do in our day-to-day needs to be backed up just in documentation nonetheless, but when it comes to this specific topic, just got to be very careful that you don't put in your, like Andy was saying, you don't put into your contract, I'm going to give you cost plus, but cost plus our raw costs, or cost plus our, what costs are we putting in here exactly? So time and materials, and when you get into construction, and especially when you get into construction, it's very important to structure your contracts to cover all these topics.
Yes,
and I definitely would agree with you, Andy, that a schedule of rates is extremely important, so that people know ahead of time and they agree to the prices in which you're trying to go for. I literally have my customers sign off on my price sheet, and I leave it with them. And it's like, here you go. You've agreed to all these prices, everything I could, even if I had a, 1 meg generator here, you've agreed to it. At least we're never going to use it, but you've agreed to it. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Every single time someone calls me and asks me to come in and consult for them, every time someone says the insurance company's not paying for this or my client's not paying for this, they say, well, is there some magic words, Andy? Is there magic words that you can say or give me that will make them pay for this? The first thing I ask them is, show me your contract. Show me what you contracted for. What did you agree to? If you didn't agree to it up front, you cannot hold them to it on the back end. And if your agreement was a cost plus, well, and you just left a lot of money on the table, because that's not the way to do it.
Andy, it's the same argument that we have with, show me your policy. I can't talk. If your policy says XYZ, then that's what you're going to be stuck to. Yeah, Ben, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about really, really quick. One thing we talked about last
Let's do it. We're going up into 6 minutes into our hour. So after an hour, anyone that wants to turn into a pumpkin and drop out can, but I think that's a great subject to talk about, Clark. Go ahead.
2 seconds. We're not going to mention names. Andy and I had someone reach out to us that says, I don't know that I can be part of Restoration 2.0 Rebels with people like so-and-so by making posts and asking stupid questions.
Yeah. They were not sophisticated enough.
They were not sophisticated enough, and it's going to hurt my brand. And I think basically what we said was, then maybe you and your brand aren't in the right group, because not everyone here is on the same level. And the minute we start telling people not to ask questions, whether they're stupid or not, this is the minute that they go out and do stupid things because they did not ask anybody for help. So I know that's my stance. I know we've talked about, not making disparaging remarks about somebody that doesn't know as much as we do or something, or you do. I just think that's the wrong. If we're talking about trying to take people with us, then why are we? If we're going to smash people down, then why are we even letting people in this group at all? What is this group about?
Right? Aren't we the deplorables?
Yes, we are.
I don't think there's any place in any world of any group that anybody goes to that's not supposed to be a comedy group or something like that. That if you're looking for advice or looking for somebody to point you in the right direction, that you should be treated with any bit of disrespect. People are going to ask questions that some may think are below them specifically, but that doesn't mean that those questions are below everybody. And everybody has came from nowhere. Everybody started in this industry from the mere fact of, what does that silver machine do? Why is it pumping out water? How does it happen? It's like, we've all been there, whether it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, or 2 months ago. We need to help build each other up. I mean, regardless of what group you're in, there's no place for any of that in this world.
Amen, brother. And that same person that was referred to reached out to me today and ponied up and said, hey, I want to pay you for your time. Help me with this. And he was humble enough to reach out for that help, and we got him that help. And he's going to turn into a $60,000 gig for him, which might be the biggest job he's ever handled. But if we just said, you know what, you're not sophisticated enough, you don't know enough to play in our club, that's the wrong man. And he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that, and it just would have been sad. Somebody else raised their hand. Hold on a second. They were on an iPhone. They did.
I did. This is Sean.
Hey, Sean. Hey, man. How you been, man? Good to see you. Good to hear you.
Doing good. Talking about markup pricing and what do you thought about fuel, diesel fuel for heating and generator?
Does it cost you money?
Yeah, like you know when
is it in your contract?
Cost plus 10 and 10.
Cost plus 10 and 10.
Cost plus 15. Cost plus 15 and 15. Whatever
15 and 15. Yeah,
I'm gonna just say that it's pretty generally accepted that you can almost get away with 30% on a commercial level, at least. Yeah. When you're dealing with, very often or not, when you're dealing with diesel purchases, you're not on a residential
Let's not say
job.
get away with. Let's just say legitimate charge, right?
this is where I'm going to. You need to show the receipt if you want to get 10 and 10 on diesel fuel, right?
Or your markup on diesel fuel. Yeah.
Yes, you have to show exact gallons and everything when it comes to
Okay,
diesel
so
fuel.
you need to open your book. For instance, if you're getting fuel from Sunbelt, they market 50% for the market price.
Okay.
They charge you over $4 a gallon if you want to use their vendors to fill your generator.
Hey, Sean.
Yes.
That's called your cost incurred. All that doesn't matter. You're incurring a cost to do a job, the same as your homeowner or your business owner. So you're incurring costs. If the market requires it to be XXX and the company delivered it to you, he's entitled to his O&P. You can't go with yourself. You're not going to take 35 5-gallon buckets to go down there and get it. It has to be delivered, and it has to be delivered by a company that's legally licensed and DOT registered to do so. So it's cost incurred. I actually have never, ever, ever had that argued by an adjuster. They said, show me that receipt, mark it up with what your rate sheet says you will for that personal customer, and do it. Because there cannot be a fixed rate for that, because that's a flexible variable.
Sean, what's happening in your situation? Are they arguing that?
What's that? I didn't hear.
Is the adjuster arguing?
No. This is a job we had a couple of years ago that we tried to get fuel after one of the storms, and we went to Sunbelt. They offered us fuel, but it was a lot more expensive than the market price. But we still need to show the carrier the receipts for that. That we're buying the fuel.
I would
believe
believe
it's not so much the receipts; it's that they need to actually have the tracked amount of gallons that you do. And if, for instance, when I was down in the Keys, say you had a fuel company that was delivering to you, and you had a reservoir, and you filled up the piggyback tanks in the back of your truck, and you were shuttling the fuel back and forth and incurring the cost of the labor and the vehicle cost, maintenance, so on and so forth, you are able to charge a per gallon rate that you want to charge for the diesel fuel based off of your incurred cost. Do the math, however it may be, as long as you can justify it. But with that, you have to track every single gallon that goes into every single machine per, every single one of our tanks has a regulator that counts gallons as it pumps. We take pictures of it and we log it to the job.
Well, I think in that scenario, you charge by the gallon according to your contract, and you charge by the vehicle. You rent that vehicle to the job every day. On a job like that, you probably have several vehicles you're renting to the job every day.
Yep.
And the hourly, the labor for every person on that job, you're charging to that job. So it's dangerous. I think it's risky to try to meld the hourly and the vehicle and the gallon into one number. I think you're better off separating them.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
Something that I did, it's been quite a few years now. Many of you, or maybe not many of you, may know that I went through a pretty major lawsuit with Thermopure.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was going to be possibly losing everything. It would have been nice if I would have started out having all my assets in a separate holding company.
Now, you mentioned that today that was very interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I've actually thought about doing some different things with that, because all of us know that if we provide some kind of document, whether it be an invoice or bid or whatever from a subcontractor, if it has any other name besides the restoration company's name, they pay it plus 10 and 10. So I have my own propane filling station at my office, and I've been asked to supply them with a receipt or whatever. Well, that's very difficult for me to do because I wasn't set up like that to begin with. Now I utilize my holding company's name to be able to provide anything that's rental, that's my equipment. All my assets are in this holding company.
First three restoration companies I ever worked for did not own any drying equipment.
Right.
That's not a stick, but the warehouse was full of drying equipment.
Right.
Who owned that drying equipment? A different company.
and you can rent it to yourself, and that actually helps you.
You give yourself a little bit of a
justify
discount.
Cost better.
Yeah,
So
you're exactly right.
We are able to make an invoice that allows us to make the margin that we need, and including the overhead and profits. So I'm not okay with making a 16% margin on anything. My overhead is at least 25%, and I'm not okay with losing money on any aspect of my business. So I will have an invoice made by my holding company that makes it so I am making the 25% that covers my overhead, and then I'm shooting for a 15% net profit. So 25 plus 15 is what I'm going for.
Yep.
And so you're able to do that if you have your own holding company. Now, to take a step further, I haven't done this yet, but I'd like to create an operating company that's basically like my subcontractor. And they can do the work for me and provide subcontractor bids. And then, I mean, if the insurance adjusters are going to go the way that they are right now, I will never be questioned on any of those bids. Now, they might start questioning when every single line item is a bid, but it's just thinking outside of the box.
5 years from now, non-issue. We're not going to be talking to adjusters. But yes, it's just business. Do you think these big carriers have all their business assets in the United States? No. They're offshored. They're offshored hardcore. Does HP? How much of HP assets are actually domiciled in the United States? I don't know for a fact, but I would guess 20%. They're incorporated in Ireland, or they have. It's just business. It's just numbers. It's economics. It's all stuff that makes my brain melt out of my ears, and that's why I'm not a very good businessman, because I've too much heart and not enough up here. But it's just be smart about it. If there's a way to beat the tax man, then beat the tax man. If you're going to play the game, learn the rules and play it better until the game changes. Yeah, 100%. Anyone else got something to add to that? All right. Scott Peterson said, Scott Peterson, where is that guy? He's not here tonight, but he's been doing some videos. And today I actually watched that video. I don't watch every video because I don't have a lot of time, but I did watch that video. He filed a complaint on behalf of an insured to the California State Insurance Board. Who wants to talk about that? Ben does. Ben, you're such a freaking genius, man. I love that you're in this group. Thank you for being here, man. You're just like a wealth of knowledge. I'm humbled.
You're too kind.
I'm humbled. No, man, you're awesome. All right, go ahead.
No, I just enjoyed watching his videos ever since he started posting. So I've never done it, but
neither have I. But I think he's onto something.
Oh yeah, can you imagine if just the members of our group in every state, right? Let's say it's only 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever in every state does something like this, and let's say you just have to get some kind of authorization from your customer. Typically, they're okay with that. They want you to be able to help them.
Yeah, let's get some background. So he had state of California, and it might be different for Oregon. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. Might be different for Washington, Ben. So they have a form on the state insurance website that you can download and have your client sign and say, it essentially says, I would like a third party to assist me with this complaint. And it gives the contractor the ability to file a complaint on behalf of the insured. Well, guess what? We're already doing everything else for the insured, right? So we might as well file the complaint for them. I would bet that every state in the union has a similar form that we can work into our contracts to say, if in the event that you would like to file a complaint, would you like us to file your complaint for you? Oh, I mean, can you imagine it? Yeah, you get 4 complaints a month where you're getting 0 now. Because who complains really? Who complains to the insurance boards really? Nobody, 'cause they don't know how to do it. It's like pricing feedback. Nobody knows how to do it. Now Ben's going to the state of Washington insurance division to see if there's a form for it.
I already have, and they do have a place that you can do that. Now, I certainly have plenty of complaints, but none that I want to actually register right now. So I don't know what the process looks like, but if this comes up in the future, which I'm sure it will shortly, I definitely want to see what it's about and see what I can do in there. I mean, I'm already on the OIC's radar just because we do CE classes. So,
yep.
But I think what he's doing is very cool. And when you watch the video, he has, you can see there's like a list of the complaints when he logs into his account. And there's like 5 or 6 that he has already. So I wouldn't mind maybe even hearing from him if he gets a short amount of time, if he's coming to the deal in May. It might be good to hear what he's doing. I think he's leading the way in something nobody else has actually looked into.
I'm for it. Let's get him in on the 2nd.
I actually filed this past week for the Federal Trade Commission on a
FTC. Ooh.
We have a large fire loss where the carrier didn't want to pay what they should. They didn't like what I had put together, so they called in their preferred, which was over 80 miles away to drive in, and a lot of the price lines all matched theirs. The insured is totally behind me 100%, and she also filed as well. So we just done it, so we haven't any feedback yet.
Let me tell you where I see this group going. And FTC is not, Bob, you're a rebel, man. I would not have seen that coming. But FTC is not something I would have thought about. And I hope you share with us how that goes. I see this group influencing state legislatures across the country. We will have eventually, sooner rather than later, we will have lobbyists. Whether that's one lobbyist for the country or 50 lobbyists, one for each state, where we are going and talking to the state legislature. And we have our pulse, our finger on the pulse, and we have a voice. Because we can see these things coming. We can see how they're going to affect the insurance consumer, and we can have our voice heard. That is the end game. That is where real things start to happen and real things start to change. Until that time, filing complaints, getting these forms signed, doing these things on behalf of our clients who don't have the wherewithal or the will to do them, that is going to be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And good for Scott for bringing that to our attention. Good for Ben for bringing pricing feedback forward. I mean, that's why we're all here. These are things that are, in a grand scheme of things, very easy to do. We can download a form. We can work a form into our contracts, right? We can agree that this is probably a right thing to do across the board. That's not an antitrust move. That's just standard of care, right? We're here to raise the standard of care. Oh man, I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
One thing they did tell us, they did call me back and they talked to me, was they're tracking this particular carrier and see what other claims are across the country. And if they get enough of them in, then they're going to act upon it. And their fines are very high.
And it doesn't take a lot. We're not talking 1,000 complaints. We're talking tens of complaints before these guys will jump.
And they'll look at this because the carriers will, because they're in the form. It says they could fine them up to $100 million on a corporation. Well, that's not chunk change.
Ouch.
So,
That's
yeah.
like more than one Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is too. But I think that the nail in the coffin right here is this other preferred vendor they brought in. Some of the line items match right to the penny. Obviously, they both did use Xactimate, and nothing was changed, and everything was identical. And that throws a red flag up.
Some of the easiest appraisals I've been in, where there was 3 Xactimates, and 2 of them I got the ESX file and I opened them up, and I don't know if all y'all know this, but you can go in and see the name of the person that input the line item in that estimate if you have the ESX file. It's called what report is that, Ben? What report? An audit. Estimate audit.
It's an audit, yeah.
Yeah, estimate audit report. You can run that. So the easiest appraisals I'm in, I pull up the carrier's opinion. I pull up the opposing, not the umpire, words. Appraiser's opinion. Thank you, Ben. And I go, oh, wait a minute. Line item 45 was input by Jamie Smith, and line item 45 was input by Jamie Smith. Did Jamie Smith write this estimate? No, this was Ed. Ed said he wrote this, but why did Jamie write all this stuff? And it's just a carbon copy because they took what the carrier gave them and put their name on it and said, this is my opinion, this is my appraisal. Oh, they just get nuked. They get wiped. The umpire just takes one look and says, are you kidding me? Really? Done. Stamp. You're right. McCabe, you win. I love those. But you're exactly right. It's not, oh, man. How many of y'all watched that video I did on the engineers just giving these pat answers? Just pull their license, man. Pull them. Fine them. You know, that's where people really start paying attention is when we stand up and say, no, we just call bullshit. Why do we have to play by the rules, but you don't?
I did some other research. I went in Xactimate and I pulled up an old price list from 10 years ago. Let me back up. The first thing that got me going on this was my own homeowner's insurance. It says we just recently changed companies, and on the front page, there is an inflation on there of 1.25% per quarter. So I asked
your premiums. Yes.
Yes. I asked my agent about that, and they said, well, that's on everybody's policy has it. Mine just spells it right up front. You can see it. So they claim it caps out at 5, even though it says 1.25 per quarter. So I looked at the inflation rates, and 3 is about an average. So I went back and Xactimate went down to 2007 in an old price list, which anybody can pull this up.
Yes, you can.
And I took 18 of the most common things that I use, made a price list of those 18. Fast forward to 2017,
flatline.
Had the same price list again, and some things actually went down. For instance, in 2010, storage was $2.02 a square foot in my market. As of last month, it was 95 cents. Dehumidifiers, air movers, stuff like that, identical prices have not changed in 10 years.
Yep. Well,
I went in, made a third list, and compounded 3% over those 10 years. So a dry ease 500, it was being charged out 10 years ago at $71 and some change. Today's rate is still $71 and some change, but once I calculated it out, it actually comes to $95.
Fair.
So if there's an argument there, I have all the data. I mean, here's my inflation, my insurance policy that states it, but yet nothing's been changed.
Bob, you were there. You and Christine were there when Ben was giving his presentation. He was showing the pricing over the last few years and the flat line. And when those graphics came up on the screen, the air just came out of the room. It's like we're seeing it for the first time, but guess what? We were seeing it for the first time.
I'd recommend everybody in this call to go in their area and go back and do what I did. Pull up that. Figure out how far off you
It's
are.
all an exact analysis. Go in there. We have the tool. Just go use it. Go look into it. Yeah, it's a flat line. But the beauty is we have the most effect on that. We do. Watley, late to the party, bro. What's up, bro?
Yeah, hey guys. Sorry about that. Try to make it happen here before I head to Brazil. It's my last day.
All right.
So anyhow, yeah, Andy, I think it's our fault, man. We're not giving feedback in an adequate way. Ben has done a great job to show us how it's done. Even as a trainer, this is humbling and interesting. I did not know how to provide feedback in a credible way. And like, I'm a damn trainer. Like, that was like, I never admitted that to Ben. I just acted like, yeah, of course that's what you do. But like,
sure.
In all honesty, like if I didn't know how to do that, there's a wildly small percentage. So, I mean, to say our fault is a reach, but it is incumbent upon us to provide feedback as contractors. And I'm excited about the prospects of what's to come over the next couple of years under Ben's direction.
Absolutely. He's the patron saint of pricing feedback. I'll get a crown or some wind.
So just so you know, guys, it's not just about sending your estimates back to Xactimate. You have to make your own price list.
Oh, otherwise you're just regurgitating the same information. Absolutely.
Exactly. So if you do not weird, right? A contractor determining their own prices.
Who'd have thought?
What a concept.
Wow.
Right? So you've got to figure out what it is for your own company. And this is likely something that nobody in this industry has ever taught you how to do.
Nope.
Okay. There are consultants that can help. Business Networks, Pivot, Violand, there are a few of these guys that are pretty good that can help you look at that. I think there's probably two consultants specifically that do look into this, and that is Les Cunningham with Business Networks. Even though he and I don't always see eye to eye, he does know numbers. John Kowalski with Pivot, he does not advertise. He doesn't come to all the conferences, so he's by referral only. So that's actually who I'm with right now.
But it's going to take more than him. It's going to take more than 3 people or 4 people, right? It's going to take more than you. It's going to take us all. So that's why we're going to sit down, Ben. I am going to, if I have to drive to Moses Lake, which I could because I just got my truck back and the 4-wheel drive is fixed now. If I have to do that this week, I will do that, and we will sit down. I'll bring a camera and we will teach everyone, because it's on all of us. We can't be the only people preaching this thing. We can't be the only people hammering this home. We need to do this across the board. Every single point on that map, which is getting cool, by the way, which is open to everyone. If you have access to restorationrebel.com, if you're on the map, you have access to that map, take that KML file and put it on your own website. But everyone on that map needs to be downloading and creating their own custom price list every freaking month according to their true costs of doing business in their own markets, and then learn how to do that feedback. And guess what?
And it's not just me that it's working for.
Oh, no.
I track people that I teach, and in Madison, Wisconsin, it's starting to work. You can see the prices going up there.
And how many people are doing it there? Sort of Drive?
Probably 3.
Oh, 3. Okay. Good. I want to do it in Bend. I got 4 or 5 contractors in Bend that I'm going to meet with next week.
And I plan on actually doing trainings across the state in Washington. There's no reason for my competitors to not know the things that I know about Xactimate. I am tired of hearing, why are you the only one, Ben, that charges this way? That's stupid.
Because I'm the smart guy?
And it's not about being smart. We've become lazy.
Yes.
I mean, that's my honest opinion. All of us are relying on a software to figure it out for us because it's made it very easy. Xactimate is a pretty user-friendly program. I mean, it is a great software,
Yes.
right? But because of that, we've become lazy. We just allow that to figure it out for us, and then we complain about it, but we don't do anything to change it.
To be honest, for someone like me, it was just ignorance, and
Yeah.
you know that's not you know, a put down. It's just the truth.
Yeah. I would like to know, Danny, I don't see it right now, but you had some kind of party lights behind you, and I wanted that as a topic.
That's the projector outside my house shining in the window.
Yeah, I keep seeing like little lights above your head there. I'm like,
my wife's got a stripper pole in the back, and it's the disco lights.
Attaboy.
All right, we have I'm gonna call it here in 1 second, but Robert had a question. Why don't we all go to a cubic foot pricing, charge by job, and not all these charges, drawing jobs? I'm gonna say
I like it.
You do?
Oh yeah.
What do you like about a cubic foot or a square foot pricing versus Xactimate?
It evens the playing field. Now, no longer does an insurance or whomever say, well, you didn't, or you used too much equipment, right? Like, who says that I can't drive something faster or that I can't do something more efficiently? Who cares if I put 20 DHUs on a job? If we're all going to get paid the same amount per square foot, then let's get on with it and get it dry and get going. It's a better service to the customer. But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But right now, what we're doing is we put the amount that is in those calculations from the IICRC, which, by the way, are junk. There's no scientific fact and basis on those.
I think there's a little bit. Come on. There's a little bit of science in there.
There's absolutely none. Take this, for example.
Watley, shut up.
Agree. If you take your dehumidifier home and put it in your bathroom, turn your shower all the way on high, right? And do it for like 15 minutes so it's nice and steamy in your bathroom. Turn on your DHU, see how long it takes you to get it back to the conditions it was prior to doing that. Do the same thing and then just turn on your fart fan.
Well, it's the
you
same
will
goddamn
dry
thing.
in a quarter of the time, or you will get rid of the moisture in a quarter of the time.
It's a different
But
technique.
we can't charge for that fart fan.
Yeah, I mean, but you gotta start talking about, you put 20 machines into a room, the temperature's going to jack up, your machines efficiency on your machines are going to drop to the floor, and you're going to talk about,
That's because
you're not really more efficient.
That only counts if you believe in GPP and that dehumidifiers actually do what the manufacturers say they do. Okay.
I believe the GPP and grains per pound and actually calculating it the proper way is a great way to measure one aspect of a drying job.
Correct.
It's one great way to measure it.
But if you are going to look at a clothes dryer,
hold on a second. Great way for the leader of the rebels to try to close a meeting by opening a 45-minute discussion on drying techniques. Okay, I'm going to have to stop. I want to explore that. I want to explore unit pricing versus. Would this be unit pricing? Would cubic feet or square foot be unit pricing? And then what we're doing is.
Yeah, I think it is unit pricing.
Is something else. Okay. I don't believe that every drying job is the same. But on average, they might be. I don't know.
But loosely put, like today, I told an adjuster.
Okay, go ahead, Jake.
Too many dehumidifiers on a job. I told her that wood was so saturated. It's all different. Like IICRC is not limits; it's guidelines. That's what I told the adjuster. Like all the calculations they make with dehumidifiers and everything. Don't you kind of agree that it's not a limit, it's a guideline?
It's a recommendation.
Oh, it's a recommendation for sure.
Yeah, not even a guideline. That's a better word, recommendation.
Any desk adjuster that starts a conversation with, my calculations said, that's
what I'm saying. So it's not a limit, man. It's just like a roundabout recommendation. Like
you justify equipment based off of the needs of it, using the science of drying and using what we have at our at our means as far as the tools that we
I
have in
showed
our
her, I
pocket.
documented it until it was dry.
All right, here's the deal. I want
Can I say something?
Yes, you can, Robert. Go ahead.
Okay. It's not changing anything that you're doing in the way that you're drying. It's just
it's not. You're right.
It's just changing your charges to where everybody's on the same page, and you don't have to justify 10 DUs compared to 7 when you know you're drying quicker with 10 than you are 7, and you can do that, but you're charging the same across the board. So you have all this pricing more done with. Everybody's charging the same.
So correct me if I'm wrong. It leaves. This is what I'm hearing. It leaves the opportunity for someone with a more elegant solution to make more money because they're more efficient. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I mean, efficiency would kill the game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody can drive the same structure with the same moisture contents 2 days quicker, they're making more money because their equipment's not running longer. But you're still doing the same job, getting to the same standards for X amount of dollars.
Okay.
It just gets the drawing guy paid more if he knows more about what he's doing.
I don't think
the bill would be the same across.
No, I'm talking about, you're more efficient. You make more per hour if you spend less on the job for the same amount of money.
Yes.
I'm gonna say that Mark Watley needs to spend like 3 hours on the beach in Brazil and write an article on this, because he volunteered that he has so many opinions on this, quoting his words, because he typed them with his thumb.
That's about right.
Yeah,
buddy.
I want to hear.
I want to hear. It's like I agree with half of what Ben's saying, but not all of it. I agree with half of what you're saying, but not all of it. And this is an interesting topic for next week, but we certainly don't need to drill down on it.
Hey guys,
this could be a 3-week multi-episode topic.
There is no call next week.
Mr. Watley, would you write some thoughts down for the following week? There is no call next week. We're not meeting after Christmas. I expect you all to be with your families or knee deep in shit water. There's no other option. Family, shit water. That's what we do. This is restoration. So next Tuesday there is no meeting. The next roundtable is the 2nd of January 2018. I cannot believe it's 2018 already. I tell you what, I am fired up. This is why I get up in the morning. I think I told y'all in a post earlier this week, and I'm going to tell you right now, you are why I wake up in the morning. Not to go write estimates for people. If you could see my desk, you could see the shit show that I wake up to in the morning. This is why I wake up in the morning, because this is going to move the needle. This is where we're going as an industry, and we are strong together, and it is incredibly powerful. We stay the course. We listen to our heart and our guts and ignore the naysayers and the people that say Bitcoin, it's just a fad. Rebels, they're just a bunch of rebel. Nuh-uh. We're real. We will not be ignored. We will be heard. Continue the conversation online. I love y'all. Keep it up. See ya.